The pressure at 15,000 feet doesn't just crush metal, it crushes perspective. Every dive into the abyss reminds me how small we truly are. But this mission felt different from the moment we went down. 4,000 meters, I called out, forcing my voice steady over the low groans straining the DSV Charon's hull. The cockpit was cramped like they always are. 3 grown adults surrounded by blinking screens and controls, barely room to move our elbows. Dr. Anya Sharma gave a nod, her face ghostly pale in the blue light from the monitors. As the mission lead, she kept that cool scientist's calm, but I could see her knuckles were white where she gripped her tablet. "Still no word from the Odyssey?" Ben Carter asked from the co-pilot seat next to mine. At 30, Ben was our team's youngest member, his nerves showing more than ours. "Nothing," Sharma replied. 11 days of complete radio silence. I focused on flying the sub. Deep submergence vehicles were my safe place, predictable, responding to skill. Not like people, not like the ocean. 5,000 meters, I reported, hitting seafloor level. The Odyssey was a next-generation research sub, better than our little recovery vessel in almost every way. Its vanishing act made zero technical sense. No mayday, no emergency signals, just gone silent while studying cracks in the seafloor along the Charlie Gibbs fracture zone. "Forward sonar's active," Ben said, his voice dropping to a whisper as shapes started appearing on the screens. "I'm picking up. Hold on. 2 objects." I narrowed my eyes at the display. Confirmed. Odyssey bearing 047. But there's something else. "What is that?" Sharma leaned forward, her breath fogging slightly in the chilly cabin air. "Unknown," I answered, easing us closer. "Too big to be just rocks at this depth. Too shaped." As we closed the gap, I hit the big outside lights. Bright white cones cut into the perfect black water, but the darkness swallowed the beams like they were nothing. The Odyssey came into view first, sleek, dark, looked undamaged. But it was the other thing that took our breath away. It loomed beside the sub, enormous, with curves like something alive. Its surface glowed faintly from the inside, pulsing slow and steady, almost like breathing. The size was all wrong, impossible. It made the Charon look like a speck of dust floating next to it. "My God," Sharma breathed. "That's not natural rock." "It's alive," Ben said, his voice cracking. "But nothing that big could..." "It's undiscovered," I cut in, clinging to logic even as cold unease crept up my spine. New species, unknown formation. But deep down, where the abyss knows its own, I knew we were seeing something that shouldn't exist, something that had no business being part of how life worked on Earth, and the Odyssey had found it first. "Charon to surface," Sharma said into her comm, her voice tight but professional. "We've located the Odyssey. Prepare for preliminary assessment." She paused, her eyes locked on the slowly pulsing mass. "And inform headquarters. Tell them we've found something else." Like her words were a signal, the glow inside the living tower flared bright for just a heartbeat, then faded back down. Nobody spoke. In the sudden silence, all I could hear was our breathing, the low thrum of the sub, and a deeper sense, cold and clear, that invisible eyes were watching us from the endless dark. The silence stretched out like a physical weight, pressing down on us as we stared at the pulsing mass beside the Odyssey. Something about its rhythmic glow sent a primal warning shivering through my system. a feeling I'd never experienced in all my years beneath the waves. Dr. Sharma was the first to break the trance. "We need to investigate the Odyssey. That's what we came for." "You're joking, right?" Ben's voice cracked slightly. "That thing is... I don't even know what that thing is, but it's alive. And it's watching us." "We don't know that," I said, though the words felt utterly hollow even as they left my mouth. It could be a previously undocumented bioluminescent organism, or a geothermal vent showing properties we haven't encountered before. Sharma's eyes met mine, and I saw she didn't believe my explanation any more than I did. But she nodded anyway. "Whatever it is, our primary mission remains unchanged. 11 people are missing on that sub." "We're missing," Ben muttered. "Nobody survives 11 days down here without power." I guided the Karen closer to the Odyssey, deliberately keeping the massive, pulsing structure at our backs. I didn't want to look at it anymore. The submersible responded perfectly to my controls. At least the technology obeyed known rules. I clung to that small comfort even as the hairs on the back of my neck stood straight up. "Attempting to establish communications," Sharma announced, activating our external speakers. "DSV Odyssey, this is DSV Sharon. Do you copy?" Nothing came back but the faint, hollow echo of her own voice through our hull. The emptiness felt worse than any distress signal could have been. "No response on any channel," she confirmed after cycling through emergency frequencies. "No sign of power." "Remote link is non-responsive too," I added, checking the diagnostic panel. "We'll need to use the manipulators to force the airlock." Ben's breathing was shallow now. "Do we have to? Can't we just mark it as found and go back up?" Sharma's expression hardened. "Not an option." I maneuvered us alongside the Odyssey's main airlock and extended our mechanical arms. The procedure was delicate but routine, a rare piece of normality in this rapidly dissolving situation. With precise movements, I overrode the emergency release. The airlock cycled open with a rush of bubbles. "Internal cameras active," Sharma said, her voice dropping to a whisper now. The monitors flickered to life, showing the Odyssey's interior. I braced for chaos, destruction, signs of fighting, emergency lights casting everything red. Instead, the cabin looked unnervingly quiet, orderly, dark but intact. "Scan all sections," Sharma ordered. I cycled through the cameras methodically. Bridge, engine room, crew quarters, mess hall. In each space we found them, the crew, all 11. They hadn't died fighting or fleeing. They sat at their stations or lay in their bunks. Some had their hands folded peacefully. Others appeared simply to be sleeping. All had taken their own lives in the exact same way. A swift, precise, final action. No signs of panic, no signs of struggle. Just a terrible, unanimous, calm acceptance. "Jesus Christ," Ben whispered, turning away from the screen. His hands shook visibly. I kept scanning, desperate for something, anything, explainable. A gas leak, poisoning, a critical systems failure. My mind raced through scenarios trying to explain why an entire crew would commit synchronized suicide with such peace. But every rational answer crumbled like wet clay. "They knew something," Sharma murmured. "This wasn't insanity, this was a choice." Logic screamed in my head. People don't just choose to die. Not like this, not all together, without panic or haste. There had to be data, evidence, something solid I could hold on to as the world tilted sideways. "We need the ship's logs," I said, voice sounding distant in my own ears. "The recordings will tell us what happened." Behind us, the colossal organic structure pulsed brighter for 3 slow beats, like a dark acknowledgement of my ragged search for reason, almost like amusement. The data recorder had to be in the command module. Breathing deeply to steady my hands, I guided us through the Odyssey's interior, past the lifeless crew members whose self-inflicted fates seemed increasingly rational with each passing moment. There, Dr. Sharma pointed to a reinforced panel near the captain's station, standard location for the primary recording system. I maneuvered our submersible's manipulator arms with practiced precision, accessing the panel and pulling out the recorder. Despite everything aboard the Odyssey, the recorder's casing was undamaged. These things are made to survive disasters. "Patching it through now," I said, connecting it to our comms. "The final recordings might tell us something." Ben had gone silent, his earlier protest replaced by a vacant stare. Dr. Sharma leaned forward, her breath fogging the inside of her helmet. Static filled our headsets. Then fragments of voices cut through the digital noise. "Structural analysis inconclusive. A man's voice. Clinical despite obvious strain. More static then. Activity increasing when we scan it. Organic responses to..." The recording broke apart again before a woman's voice broke through. "Captain, I'm telling you, it's responding to our beacon." 11 seconds of garbled sound followed before the Odyssey's captain's voice came through crystal clear, cold as ice. "It's not a creature. It's an egg, and our distress beacon is a dinner bell." The transmission cut off. The silence afterward pressed against my eardrums worse than any ocean depth I'd ever felt. Dr. Sharma's scientific calm shattered, her face pale inside her helmet. Ben's breathing hitched into short, panicked gasps. "A dinner bell," I repeated, the words tasting strange. Our comm crackled. "Caron, this is surface control." Rodriguez's voice was strained, tight, all his usual calm gone. "We're picking up something unusual on long-range sonar. Something big." "Give me specifics," I shot back, already dreading the answer. "The system keeps kicking back the readings as errors," Rodriguez reported. "Whatever this thing is, it's massive and moving fast, heading directly toward your position." Beside us, the colossal shape, the egg, pulsed quicker now, its eerie glow flaring brighter with each beat. "How long?" Dr. Sharma demanded. "At its current speed," Rodriguez faltered. "Minutes, maybe less." Ben let out a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. "We called it, just like they did. The Odyssey called it for 11 days, and now we're ringing the bell too." I wanted to argue, to find the rational explanation that was my compass. But reason was drowning in the face of that impossible sentence, that horrifying object pulsing beside us. "Surface. Prepare for emergency retrieval," I ordered, slamming my hand on the ascent initiator. "We're coming up, now." The egg pulsed again, blindingly bright now, like it was excited. The water around us seemed denser, vibrating with malignant energy. And for the first time since I was a kid, I felt the blind animal certainty of being hunted. A low, resonant hum began to rattle our hull. Not the sub, not the earth. A something was coming to answer the call. The hum grew from a vibration into a physical force I felt in my teeth and bones.
Our thrusters strained at maximum power, but the emergency ascent barely registered on the depth gauge. Too slow. We were moving too damn slow.
Surface, this is Sharon. Emergency ascent underway. Estimated time to minimum safe depth, 17 minutes. Do you copy? Dr. Sharma's voice stayed clinical, but I heard the strain underneath. The comms crackled. Sharon, we... Static swallowed the rest.
Control panels flickered. I checked the sonar. Readings were impossible. A mass so huge our instruments couldn't process it. Just a wall of solid return, plunging toward us at a speed that broke all physics. The math was brutal. Our climb versus its fall. We had maybe 3 minutes before impact.
The egg, Dr. Sharma whispered, her face lit by the pulsing glow outside. It beat faster now, like a heart waiting to feed. Each pulse sent sickening light through the cockpit, stretching our shadows into twisted shapes on the hull. The hum deepened, vibrating through some raw part of my brain. Not just sound, communication. Something vast and ancient speaking in frequencies felt, not heard. I can't. Ben slammed his palms against his ears, blood trickling from his left nostril. Make it stop! Displays flickered violently. The depth gauge swung wildly as if we rose and fell at once. Navigation died, then life support warnings flashed red. I stared through the viewport into the black. The water seemed thicker now, heavy with primal malice. At the edge of our lights, fleeting movements darted, shapes my mind couldn't grasp, impossible angles, vanishing before I focused, searing my vision like burns. Do you see that? I whispered. Neither answered. Ben rocked in his chair, eyes shut tight. Dr. Sharma stood frozen, staring at the egg. A shadow swept overhead, huge and swift. Not darkness, but water warping, a pressure wave that made the hull groan. The viewports flexed inward slightly, even though we were still within safe limits. It's circling us, I said aloud. It's playing with us. Comms burst to life with the surface crew's voices, a frantic mix of fear and warnings. Breaking up on sonar. Size can't be real. God, it's everywhere! Then silence. Total, crushing silence. The egg pulsed wildly. Water distorted around us, currents twisting unnaturally. Pressure built inside my skull, thoughts frayed and slipped away. I understood now. The Odyssey crew hadn't lost their minds. They'd seen clearly. They knew what was coming and chose a quick way out. We need to shut down, I said, the truth hitting me. Everything. Cut all power, all signals, all lights. Now. That's suicide, Dr. Sharma objected, her voice hollow. We're still broadcasting, I said, watching shapes dart at the edge of sight, still calling it. Ben looked up, terror and realization flooding his face. Like moths to a flame. Exactly, I whispered, grabbing the main power switch. Only we're the flame. The egg pulsed one last time, a flash that burned into my eyes. In that burst of light I saw it, a colossal shape descending from above, not swimming but just being there, its form bending and unfolding beyond understanding. Then I plunged us into darkness. Absolute darkness swallowed us. Not the artificial darkness of a power outage, but something absolute, as if the idea of light had been wiped from existence. My hand stayed frozen on the power switch. The gesture felt useless now, like trying to bury your tracks after the hunter already has you dead to rights. What did you do? Ben's voice shook beside me. Turned off the dinner bell, I answered, my voice calm like deep water. But I think we've already been heard. Only our ragged breathing filled our tiny cockpit. Dr. Sharma stayed silent beside me, her tension thick in the air. Then came the vibration.
It started as the faintest tremor through the hull, so weak I thought I was imagining it. But it grew, not in waves, but as a continuous mounting pressure that hummed against something ancient deep in my skull. My teeth ached. Even in the pitch black, ghostly, impossible patterns swam across my vision, as if the vibration itself sparked something raw inside my nerves. "Do you feel that?" Dr. Sharma whispered, her scientist's calm finally cracking. The vibration became a physical force now. It pressed hard against my eardrums, rattled the instruments, finding sound waves that felt like they might shatter my bones inside me. This wasn't just sound. It was speaking straight to my nervous system. The emergency lights flickered on, battery backup kicked on automatically. Looking out the main viewport, there was no ocean, no endless drop, no sense of space left. There was just presence, a huge, living darkness that made the earlier black seem bright by comparison. Beside us, the egg pulsed wilder, frantic light reflecting jagged glimpses of what surrounded us, textures that couldn't exist, shapes twisted just wrong enough to make my head hurt, a crushing sense of scale that shrank me smaller than dust. The viewport cracked, not from outside pressure, but from the sheer force of that vibration inside. A thin line snaked across the thick glass, then splintered wildly in every direction. "They knew," I breathed, understanding dawning terrible and cold. Understanding why the Odyssey crew chose their end. They chose a quicker way out. Ben was weeping openly now. Dr. Sharma stared straight at the cracking glass, a strange stillness settling over her face. The hum roared into an unbearable pressure wave, and in that single moment I felt it, an ancient awareness slowly turning its mind towards us. Not angry, not evil, only hungry, older than anything we could fathom. In that instant, a terrible truth crushed me. We weren't the first explorers to face this fate. We wouldn't be the last. For decades, humanity had been singing out signals, beacons, radio waves into the vast dark, like dinner bells ringing into the starless deep. We hadn't discovered it hiding here. It had finally answered our call. The viewport exploded,